And I find the moments I've tried to be too controlling or the moments I've watched other teachers do it, you get in the way. You gotta just make a space for them to, for once, have some safety. For once, ask them, what are you thinking right now? And then give them the time to respond on their own terms. I've learned more about being a human being in that job than I ever have, you know.
That was poet, drummer, and teacher K.R. Morrison. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week on this podcast, you'll hear from teachers, bartenders, photographers, and other San Franciscans telling stories and responding to the question, what is it about this place? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4, Part 2. In this podcast, KR shares what being a teacher means to her. She talks about the changes she's seeing in San Francisco reflected in the students in her classes. And lastly, she describes how teaching kids to write gives them confidence that they can apply to other aspects of their lives. Here's KR.
So I did the math. I've taught over 2,000 kids in this city, which just trips me out. Like, I did the math.
That's a medium-sized town.
It is. And I go a place, and now it's starting to... I'm 14 years in. I had a writing sabbatical last year for my writing stuff. So this is technically my 14th year at Galileo High School. Oh. And like, I run into them everywhere. So, like, for example, I was at Target trying to return a humidifier I've never used because I needed an inflatable mattress for guests coming, and they wouldn't let me. I said, I don't want money back. I just want to get credit so I can buy this mattress. And the girl was, like, real job pride on me, you know. She's like, I'm sorry, you need to spend it on the same section. I'm like, well, if I was going to spend it on the same section, I wouldn't need to return the humidifier, you know? And I found myself acting like my dad, which my dad's kind of like a functioning sociopath, you know? He's a very, like, take Jack Nicholson, but add, like, major frugal sense and a heart bigger than Sarah. I mean, he's an anomaly, my dad, but I'm sitting there, like, trying to explain to her, like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't need a humidifier. Suddenly I hear, Mama Mo? And I look over, and it's Arthur Pan, motherfucking Arthur Pan. And this kid, I had him 3 years, and I thought he hated me. I mean, he'd sit in class, and he'd just glare at me. I'm very, I get kids to speak. I'm not direct instruction. I like them to be in groups. I like them to talk, whatever. And I think that's why I thought he didn't like me, because the kid wouldn't speak up. And I could tell he'd struggled with, like, being shy and other issues. He ends up coming back a year after graduation and gives me this ceramic book he made in first year of college with a grenade on one side, and then on the other side, libraries have liberated the world more than any war in world history. And he writes on the back this thing like, thank you so much, like, you got, and I'm looking at it, I'm flabbergasted. And I start to cry, because since these kids, I cry all the time. And I'm like, so this was like about a year after he graduated. Now it's Target. This is about 5 years out, and he's running the joint. He's running Target. He's head manager. Mama Mo, Arthur Pan. And I'm like, she won't let me buy my inflatable mattress. She's making me buy in the humidifier section. And Arthur Pan looks at her, and he's like, you give her whatever she wants. Even if it's money, whatever she wants. And she's just like, and she is hot. Man, she's hot. And I looked at her like, boom. These are one of my kids. This type of stuff happens to me in this town all the time. I run into these kids. Well, I think that's what I love about doing that job the most, and why I'll never quit, is you're a messenger just like they are, you know, and you don't get to decide when you help them and don't. And I find the moments I've tried to be too controlling, or the moments I've watched other teachers do it, you get in the way. You gotta just make a space for them to, for once, have some safety. For once, ask them, what are you thinking right now? and then give them the time to respond on their own terms. I've learned more about being a human being in that job than I ever have, you know. They've brought a lot of meaning to my life. And then juggling them with, like last year I took a year off teaching. And I was really afraid I wouldn't want to go back. I thought, oh shit, I'm going to dive into this full-time artist thing and I'm done. I'll tap out, you know. Nothing, I missed it so much. Nothing could have been farther from the truth. Like for me, the art of teaching writing and then the art of writing, for me, they like inform each other. And I took one out and I almost lost my mind. I mean, like I had to come up with like regiments, you know, like wake up at this time, like do this, because your life doesn't just belong to you. Like I'm a village girl through and through. Like the minute it's all about you, people like me, I'm fucked if I can't do that. I have to look after others, and I need to be looked after, and they look after me too. My sister straight up has said to me, so other people have too, I've never seen you get your shit together like you have for those kids, you know, because I'm pretty gypsy, you know. I can get on the road with a backpack and bye-bye, like, you know. So it's been nice to have them to ground me. I'm bummed, man. Like the same way the city's changing, these schools are like a microcosm for what's going on in the city. And these kids, like my African American boys, when I first got hired there, that place was rough in a good way. And then I hear the old days, and they were like, oh, Hatchet High. Like, it was crazy and murderous, and there were riots. Like, there's this Warriors image that's painted. Like, but when I was there, like, we served the communities of the city, and they're going away, and even at the school. And it's, like, breaking my heart. And, you know, I keep getting job offers at places I won't mention that are, like, everywhere my kids can't go, they end up going to these places.
Private schools?
No, other public schools in the city that are really fighting to keep these kids in good hands. It's been hard this year to like look at the school and be like I have 3 African American boys this year, and these are like depending on teacher's teaching style, there's different kids that you work well with, and it's a cultural thing. And I grew up around noise. I grew up around shouting out your answers. Like throw me into a Baptist church, I fit in perfectly, you know. So these are my babies, and they're not making it at these schools.
What's going on?
Basically, the schools are doing exactly what everybody else is doing, trying to keep their nose above water with cuts and everything going on. And a lot of these kids are the hardest to teach because they come from the hardest environments. And it's easier to push them out and then have other kids come in that bring up APR scores. And it's a bummer. And then there's I'm really proud of the staff I work. There's a lot of great educators there, like really good teachers. But what I see on a district administrative end, it's doing what the rest of the city is doing. It's surviving by assimilating to these changes. It's what I'm seeing. We're losing these kids, and this maybe has nothing. This actually doesn't. Maybe it has nothing to do with the district or the administration. The city itself is losing these kids. They're moving out. So. It sucks, and it makes me feel like everybody's failing, you know. In my line of work, it makes me feel that way, you know. I've been writing since I was a kid, you know. After my mom died, I decided to submit things because she was always on me to submit. She was one of the few people that actually read stuff that I wrote, and basically on her deathbed, it was actually a month before she died, she said to me, like, when are you going to get your shit together and actually share this with people? And I said to her what I said to myself and everybody, like, well, that's not why I write it, Mom. And she was always really good at seeing me, and she basically called bullshit, and said that. She was an unusual woman and very vulgar, but I hate that word. I don't think she was vulgar. I think she was a pirate. And
she spoke her mind.
She spoke her mind, exactly.
With the language she had.
And there was no one more elegant than her, despite her verbiage. In fact, for me, it made her more elegant, But she's the reason. And the first thing I submitted, I actually got published. And that's, I think, it was her gift. I think it's unusual, and not because I'm so good. It was because it was her way of saying, see, like now.
So how old were you when you were first published? And what did you get published?
The first thing I published was a shitty philosophy article in college that I won't even look at it. It's so bad. And that means I was 21, 22. First poem I got published was not until the year, 2015. First poem I ever wrote, I was 12. I've been writing a long time, but only now did I really dive in. So back to what you said, only recently I have some writer friends in my ear, William's one of them, that are like, no, you're a poet, you're a writer. I think all poets are writers, but not all writers are poets.
Right.
I think I have a big fat dream to write a memoir after this. I'm scared shitless because it's going to take me a long time, and it's a whole nother thing, and I'm still riding this poetry wave and still learning things, and all of writing is the writing process itself reflects what you go through as a writer. You're always under revision.
I was just going to say, I think all art, all artists face that issue of when do you call it finished?
Fucking Pandora's box.
And I'm an editor, so I'm like, well, it's never.
Yeah.
I do my edit, and then I'm like, I could edit it again ad infinitum. Yeah. As the originator of the writing or the art or the whatever it is, how do you say? And now, there, world.
Your guess is as good as mine. Yeah. And I really don't have, me personally, I'm going through that right now. I got into the writing community here in the Bay Area right after she died and met two extraordinary poets. One is Holly Hardy and another one's Paul Corman Roberts. And I learned a lot from them alongside other writers and poets around them. And it's been amazing, but I had 189 pages of a manuscript when I met them, thinking, oh, I'm going to take this class from her, and I'm going to do some fine touches, and I'm going to publish this in 6 months. And no, I grew so much the last year or year and a half as a writer. I look at back to what we were talking about earlier, the photograph, and how you don't see you changing. I look at a poem I wrote now compared to something I wrote of that 189 pages of poetry, and I'm not going to submit that the way it is. I've grown so much. So that's what last year's sabbatical was about. It's basically done. I basically had 2 different manuscripts, and I made a decision to just cut things and leave it for later and present something at the end of the year for publication and submit it.
Because you do a lot of poetry, do you ever take pieces that you're not sure if they're finished and take them to the public and let that be the test?
All the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
There's an analogy to music as well.
Yeah.
Where maybe the band can't get along and they don't decide to, but oh, we've got something. Let's play it and see how people respond.
I love that you said that because it's something that I think about, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about. I think because everyone's afraid. Everyone's got their kid gloves on, not about each other, but about themselves. And,
exactly.
One thing I'm enjoying about my writing life, it's like a trinity I'm going through right now. It's writing, it's drumming in bands, and it's teaching. And one thing that I'm really holding on to, like a life jacket, is no ego. And yeah, go out there with something that you think is shit and read it. And not to get their feedback per se, although there's going to be those like 3 or 4 people in the audience you trust, like Holly and Paul.
Right.
I would absolutely go to them. Like,
right.
Hey, what do you think's going on here? You know, you do it for you, and you do it because usually in the doing it, you see what's wrong. Mm-hmm. You know? And then I love to see how something that I'm making is like becoming a new thing. So then I got it. So then it like DNA. It just like splits, and then I have what started off as one poem. Now I got 2, and now I got to work on those 2 things, and they end up going in directions I didn't even pick. It's what keeps me out of depression, like because I'm inclined to that, and I think the only thing that keeps me happy is always answering to other people besides myself, and that goes especially for my art and my writing, you know. And I learned that by working with the kids and watching. So I made a creative writing class at that school and made a whole curriculum for it. And currently I'm not teaching it because I wasn't there last year to recruit it. It's an elective, but in the past I have. And at the end of every year they publish anthologies of their own originally produced poetry and short stories and art, visual art. And I watch what sharing their work does for them, you know? And like, I watch them get over a lot of shit, not just wounds, but like, I watch, I'm 41 now, we're all of an era where I think we're part of the end of something, and I'm teaching kids that are a part of something new coming in, and even when they go through a lot, there is a kind of entitlement happening by virtue of the social media stuff, and I want to buy something, I can go on Amazon, I can get it in 4 seconds, and I play sports, so now I can just play my sports and I don't have to try in my class, and me battling the coach, like, no, like, this is so much bigger than your stupid game. I want this kid to like try, you know. They're going through all these things where they're being told, just take it, you know. When they share art and when they share something that they're convinced they can't do, especially my male boy, like my male students, when they share it and see like how they've reached somebody, or they co-write something with some girl in the class that
collaboration.
I do a lot of collaboration work with the kids, and when they see that they can make something really amazing with someone that they look at, and she's scared of him, and he looks at her like ugh, and they see what they've done, they start realizing like the ticket is the world doesn't revolve around you, you know, like.
And working together and sharing and like being a part of something, you know. And it's funny, they hate me for it for about a month or so, and then they love me for it, you know. This didn't happen this year. I don't have that creative writing class, but this happened my last creative writing year. I do a whole unit on ballads and how to write them. So I had them listening to Dylan. Hurricane, it's essentially a ballad if you read its structure and how he rhymed it, you know. And then they read about Reuben Hurricane Carter. They do like extensive standard shit that I'm required to teach, and then once I do that, if they've earned it, we watch the film about Reuben Hurricane Carter. Then we hear that song, and then we listen to interviews of Dylan and why he did it, which is one of the few things he would speak about, because that was around the time he didn't want to get interviewed anymore. And watching, it wasn't many, but it was like 2 or 3 boys come to me in private and doing one of these. Hey, who sang that? Like, that was cool shit. Like,
who did that? And I'm like, that's Bob Dylan. And then I have him on the wall, so I'm like, this guy. And I'm like, do you want me to send you some? And they're like, and their grills are all shining. They're like, okay, thanks. And they're like private about it, you know. There's a mentor, mother figure in my life that taught right next door. Hands down the best English teacher in San Francisco, debatably the nation. She was an extraordinary writing teacher. She's retired. We planned my sabbatical around her retirement because she didn't want me to leave before she did. And I couldn't bear to be there without her. And I learned a lot from her, but we always make the joke that, like, she was going to go find Dylan and they were going to be together.
That was writer, drummer, and public school teacher K.R. Morrison. Check back next week for a special episode of Storied San Francisco. We'll have Botik Joshi and David Brooks talking about what it means to be an artist in the city today. You won't want to miss this. Music for this podcast is by Otis McDonald, aka Joe Big Ale. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Please remember to follow Storied San Francisco on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of Season 1 and the first episodes of this season are up on our website, storiedsf.com. You can also find Storied SF hats, t-shirts, and koozies, which make really awesome gifts. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the show. If you have comments or suggestions, send them to storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.